Hello everyone, thanks for coming out.
Hello.
And we're going to be discussing the Macross Hobby Book #1 that was released in 1983. Thank you, Rich. That's why Rich is on the panel. I consider this the first technical book on Macross, even though it was done in a model form. But a lot of the information in there some of it is even carried on to like Macross Frontier. A lot of newer shows still has information that's from this book. So
not all of it though.
But not all of it, yes.
Some of it has been superseded.
Yes. So we're going to play around. There's a lot of great information. So we'll go ahead and slide here. So we're going to introduce ourselves. My name is Leonardo Flores. Look who I am. I am I do a lot of translations on Discogs, like a lot of album translations. So there's a Japanese album and the credits haven't been translated. I do a lot of that. So I do a lot of translations. First thing, I used to be one of the writers and reviewers for collectiondx.com. If you remember that website, it's kind of it's kind of been shut down. I'm not even sure if it's even still up, but I did a lot of model.
I think it's been archived.
Yeah, it's an archive. And then finally, I'm DJ Show Pop. If you're familiar with Tune in Tokyo, I'm one of the DJs that's involved with that. So thank you so much. So, all right.
Good. I'm Richard Clark. I do a couple blogs. I did one on Macross, which was like 2015 to 2021, and I did episode analysis. It's gubabablog.wordpress.com, which I know is kind of a mouthful. But I also translated several Macross novels, including My Fair Minmay, the Misehase White Reminiscences, and the Do You Remember Love novelization, all of which I highly recommend you all read. Currently, I'm working on shows that are a little more obscure. The J9 trilogy from the early 80s, and Acro Bunch, and everybody's favorite Strungle. So that's at j9hardserenade.wordpress.com. I know no one will remember it, but just look up Gubaba Blog and you'll find me on Google. So.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I want to give him a hand for the J9 stuff because it's a series group of anime that's not really talked about a lot, and he's diving into a lot of the books and a lot of the show, and so it's really cool. It's just the whole side of anime from that time period that you don't hear about. So, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, slide. All right, so here we are. This is the book right here that we're doing. So as I discussed before, it was published May 9th, 1983, which is right before the show ended?
Yeah, the show ended in June, in late June, so it's like almost 2 months before the series ended.
Okay, yeah. It was published by Shogakukan, and which they own Viz, or the part owner of Viz.
They started Viz,
They
yeah.
started it, so. And what else? They publish a lot of dictionary, literature stuff, manga, and nonfiction books. So that's kind of like their background. They've been around for 100 years. And I think they have their 101st year, like this year. That's how long this publishing company's been around. So.
And the name basically means elementary school publisher. So they started educational.
All right. So as you can see, here's the front cover of the book. I wonder if we can darken the lights a little bit so you can see a little bit. As you can see, this one has the Airy 172nd Valkyrie. If you notice, it has the booster packs on it, but I'll talk about this later, but believe it or not, Super Valkyrie is only mentioned once in this book. Everything else is different variations before the Super Valkyries came out. I think they might have been saving it for the second book, but this is about as close as you get right here, is this image right here, right on the cover. So, all right, slide. All right, and this is the back cover right here. And that one features a VF100J. This was the first one was the Imai. This is the Airy kit. And this has a really cool custom Hikaru Valkyrie helmet in the back. And who knows whatever happened to it, but it's beautifully done. If you ever seen a close-up of the picture of it, it's really well done.
Thank you.
So, all right, go ahead and slide. Okay, so this is the I think I skipped something. Okay. Oh, no, I did. Okay. So this is the chapter breakdown. And so basically it goes down to chapter 1 is the background of the alien ship. Chapter 1 through 6 are the Destroids. Chapter 7 through 13 are the Valkyries. Chapter 14 and 15 are about the Macross. And the last 2 chapters about how to build the models and what they did to build these models. And so what's most important there is that little snippet of writing there, right next to the model. And that translates as this book with models and illustrations under the supervision of Studio Nue represents the world that would become the backdrop of Super Dimension Fortres Macross. So it does have a stamp of Studio Nue approval. So it's not just like they just published a book with a bunch of model kits in it. Studio Nue is involved with this book, and that's what that says right there at the bottom. So, all right, next page. All right, so this is the title page right here, and this just features a really cool image by Mikimoto. Hikaru's building a Valkyrie model kit, and Minmi's behind him. And it's always been one of my favorite images, but if you're wondering where it came from this book right here. So, all right, go ahead and, all right, so this is where we're gonna get to a little bit of meat here. Okay, first thing about this is the background of how Macross happened in 1999, the alien ship crash. What's fascinating, it's amazing about this page is the fact that the Macross model right here is scratch built. They never made a model kit, but at least by a major company. So somebody really went and got their skill and did a really cool image, a little cool model kit. Again, makes me wonder whatever happened to it, but that's what's really cool about this image. But there's going to be some reading involved with this, so I'm going to read, actually, this stuff you all know. That's kind of stuff you really don't, but...
It's all stuff from episode 1 about how the ship crashes.
Yeah, so, but I do want to read this dialogue right here because it has a little bit more information that's kind of cool. That's, again, unique to the book. An imaginary recreation of the enormous spacecraft as seen coming down from space, from spacecraft examination as well as interior surveys of the spacecraft and an estimated shape from photographs taken by satellites. It is a high-speed space warship used for battle, perhaps by using its powerful cannon in the bow on a dangerous adversary position. It seems it has served a function of a gunboat to capture or attack an asteroid-sized fortress. Huge turrets sticking out of the various places on the hull is considered to be a supplement beam weapons. These turrets are considered part of the whole armor plate. Seems to have already been lost or damaged with previous battles with the enemy. And so it's kind of cool, it gives you a little detail. According to the book, it was more of a gunship to attack satellite-sized battleships and that kind of stuff. So let's see. Okay, let's go to the next one here. All right, so this is something people still ask this question. Why are there 2 different, one is red background for the unification sign, and these are the unification force identification marks. And the top one is Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps, and the bottom one is Army vehicles and general civils. And this is a question that I even saw like somebody asked like a week ago, like on one of the Macross modeling pages. So if you're like building a Destroid model kit, it usually has the white background, and if Valkyrie has the red.
The armored Valkyrie also has the Army general symbol, the white background one.
That comes up later. Yeah, in a roundabout way. So that's that. So, all right. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide here. And so this is the trial history of the early walking combat machines. Overview of the ET development. And so I'm just going to go down them, and then I'm going to read a paragraph or 2 about these. But the first one on the top is the ET-01 Mark II Spider. That one's the Tarantula below it, and the Black Widow. Now all these kits, of course, were never in Macross, but they were scratch built just for the book. So if you actually look at them, you can see like where these parts from these model kits came from for this. So, okay, so I'm going to just read a couple paragraphs here. What can be said of the prototype, which later came to be referred to as the Destroid, became the first complete walking warfare machine in history. Development was started from the early 1990s, or before the descent of the Macross. Introduced here was a mysterious long-legged walking type. The initial prototype walking machine, initially referred to as WV walking vehicle, but soon to be renamed ET, earth trekking on foot, ground walking machine. The origins of the abbreviation, as this machine moves with short legs and tottering walk, it is said to have chosen the vertical look from the action hero of a movie that was a worldwide hit in the 1980s. But the details are not certain. The series was a pioneer of the later Destroid development.
In case you missed that, it's called an E.T. because there was apparently a hit movie in the 80s, but they're not sure if that's exactly where it came from.
This was developed by a railroad vehicle manufacturing for civil engineering machinery for underdeveloped regions, and it was developed in secret. So that's just pretty much it. Oh yeah, well, actually the other thing I have to read, because this is a big talking point with everybody. The walking machine was originally considered as a gunner walking type that walks with knees like a human or animal. Development was expected to be very difficult, so from the time beginning, it developed a bird leg walking that lifts the toes like a bird when walking ahead. So yeah, and I think Kamamari and every them have always talked about, they're the ones that came up with that.
Well, yeah, there's...
Before Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
So, all right, go ahead and go to the next slide. And these are just two other ones here. This is the scorpion, is on the right side, and this one is the dinosaur. So, again, just kind of stuff that were just made for the book that wasn't actually in the cartoon. So. All right, go ahead. Next one. All right. So we're going to get to the meat now. This is a heavy bombardment type Destroid Tomahawk. It was designed in May 2002, production December 2003, and rolled out in 2007. And
do you want me to?
Yeah.
So, boarding machine belonged to Lieutenant Roger O'Sullivan of the 2nd Artillery Company during the gray electromagnetic wave non-reflected coating experiment. That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
Adjacent built-in weapons bay in both shoulders for the use of close proximity combat, equipped with gun clusters beneath. And it goes through the just kind of the description of all of the weapons on it. The Mark IV Tomahawk is the type with the most powerful firepower in the series. The original plan for it was to be used as an artillery bombardment weapon against the aliens. It later became closer to a tank in character. Also during the test maneuvers evaluation, the conclusion was most battles would be finished before both arms could be used for artillery fighting, which proved to be correct in the war against the Zentradi. In addition, it should be noted that the beam cannons of both arms have independent aiming devices and can aim at different targets. Also, the polarizing shield covering the camera focus eye. The prototype and the pre-production type reflects the red type light on the exterior, while the mass production type reflects the green light.
Yeah, that's always another question that's brought up. I always see on modeling page, why are some of them red and why are some of them green? It's because one's a prototype, which is the red, and the production was the green lens. So yeah, we're totally geeking out today. Go ahead and do the next one. This is the image up here on the left right here, which is at the November 2007, at the new armor proving grounds in the Mojave Desert, the first Tomahawk conducts a live round exercise on dozens of unmanned tank opponents and defeated them entirely in an instant, which displayed an extent of how proficient it was. So that's pretty much it.
Too bad they're never as proficient in the show. It's getting blown up too quickly.
All right, go.
Yes.
All right, next. Thank you. All right, so this is the Defender ADR, Anti-Air Force Defense Robot. Production rolled out in March 2009. With the fuselage just leaving the factory with its assignment destination unknown, it is believed it would be loaded into the data list. Looking like a huge mount, the radiator vent is the cooling for aiming electronic equipment. And the outer contains an electronic correction optical aim device, a so-called large starlight scope. The four barrels always sight the same target. The right and left do not aim at separate targets.
Okay, so yeah, I mean the point is that the Tomahawk, the arms can move independently, but the Defender, they just, all four have to be pointing at the same place. MBR Mark I, Destroid Mark I, given the complex power transmission around the waist, the lower body being a thermonuclear reaction engine, while the upper body used a fuel engine. A system that uses both power sources was adopted. Therefore, since the upper body was the built-in armament components, it could be arranged with some considerable freedom. There were plenty of variations planned and were prototyped, and the Tomahawk was one of them. As an anti-aircraft type, the Defender was produced by the introduction of the Elkhorn Contrace II system, which fires 78mm cannons at continuous high speed. The machine was developed and equipped with a precise sighting system for ultra-long-range shooting so it could intercept the flight weapons of aliens in outer space battles. Because it was expensive, it was a hindrance in mass production. I think that part kind of got left out later. Although Contrabas 2 system was high performance, it can be said it became fairly outdated with the development of various beam weapons. The longest continuous shooting time of 12 seconds was a disadvantage in space warfare, and the loss rate was not low.
All right, go ahead and go to the next slide. I'll read this one. So,
this one's fun.
The eardrum breaking, the eardrum buster. As soon as the defender commits shooting, a thunderous roar reverbs. Soldiers panic and suppress their ears. The firing sound of the defender, who fires 8 large high-velocity bullets per second, was horrendous. It was called an eardrum buster. So, I like that. I like the soldiers being in. All right, go ahead and go to the next one. All right, so this is a SDR Phalanx Mark IV Destroid, developed in 2009, rollout December 2009. 2 rows of 22 missiles are placed within both side pods. When the missiles are launched, a second row is left. Gray chest boxes radar. The small holes surrounding the pod discharge the jet flame at the time of the missile launch. The back box is a thermonuclear generator. Using the large propulsion nozzle equipment in the pod, sometimes it will intercept away from the mothership. So as a kid, I always thought that the thrusters in the back was for the exhaust, but it's actually an engine. These things actually can fly. And
in space.
In space, yeah, not
in atmosphere.
Yeah. So, and the box on the bottom of it is where the exhausts from the missiles leave the destroid, and so it actually can intercept. This is actually an interceptor. So, let's see. For the Macross, which has entered a state of war with an incomplete outfitting, a destroid for ship defense was urgently needed beside the Defender. At the time, Daedalus, the amphibious assault ship accompanying the Macross, was loaded with repair and replacement parts for a large number of MBR systems. Therein, the walking system and power components were assembled, and then they were equipped with newly designed bodies, weapons, and it was decided to manufacture the destroid on site. So that's what's cool about this one, is that unlike the other destroids, this one was actually built on the SDF-1 from spare parts from other destroids. So.
Which is why you don't actually see it in the show until fairly late. Like, I think it's the last one that they show.
There's one thing on this. All right, yeah, this one last thing. The Graza radar of the main detection device is a direct gamma ray irradiation system. Yeah. And when set to maximum volume, when the enemy is at close flank range, it can damage the internals of a soldier. It could be used in place of a weapon. So this thing had a radar that was so powerful that if a Zentradi came up to it, it could kill them. So that's something I never knew from anywhere. So yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and do the next slide. Okay, yeah, nothing, just more pictures of it. So go ahead and go to the next one. All right, so this is the Spartan main battle robot destroid. Initiation of design July 293. Prototype started in 2005 and production began in 2008. So built in a Glen cluster in the center of the fuselage, weapon bays on both soldiers are equipped with missiles. Position on top is anti-aircraft machine gun. All this stuff we kind of know already, so let's see. Go ahead and read it.
Okay. It was armed with a claw hand dedicated to fighting. The shape is close to the human hand, which functions include grasping, crush, thrusting, poking, slapping, and so forth. And missiles and equipped with basic gear such as machine guns, which were less susceptible to vibrations and impact during high-speed blows. However, because of the complicated power transmission mechanism, it can be said that there was a disadvantage that for productivity and utilization rate was low. It was after the Macross's return to Earth that the Spartan was able to demonstrate its ability to perform escort missions. The Daedalus landing vessel was initially loaded with 85 units.
Okay, that's good. All right, so that's that one. They talk about the complexity of the transmission for the legs, that's why it was kind of unpopular. They didn't make so many of them. So, all right, go ahead and go to the next one. So this is really just a parade that they do when they were released and people got to see them for the first time. That's that picture. So go ahead and go to the next one. All right. A super heavyweight destroid monster.
The big one.
Yeah. Initial design 2000, production begins in 2005, and rollout is 2008. It has 4 types of warhead: high explosive, anti-armor ball, anti-aircraft ball, and reaction weapons. You go ahead and read that.
Developed during the Unification War at the end of the 20th century, there were 2 courses of events for the Army's anti-alien giant walking machine. On one hand, the MBR series was for close combat with the giant aliens. On the other, it was expected that the aliens would be very large for Earthlings, and in order to have the same land combat weapons, a massive warship gun was to become the spirit of the doctrine, a large-scale combat walking machine. That was the HWI. Design commencement was Battle Robot 2 and 3 at about the same time. It adopted the bird leg type in consideration of the super large weight of the body, but by calculations, it simply was out of the question for it to walk after repeated design changes. So they made a miniature gravity control device, which is also utilized for the Macross auxiliary engine. It was somehow made unintentionally practical for use. During this time, it was developed for 5 years so far. Its development was never canceled, and it would indicate how the military was obsessed with this weapon.
So really the big news for me when I was translating this is that this thing actually has an anti-gravity inside of it. That's why I can stand up, that's why I can move. Right. And it's the same one that's actually in the Macross. So,
the ones that get pulled out of the ship.
Yeah, like when you watch the 2nd episode and they pull out, this actually has one in it, and that's why they don't fall over. So, right. Being so big, so.
And I think that actually comes because I remember Miyatake, the designer, saying like, yeah, if we actually made this, there would be no way it could actually stand up.
All right, next slide. All right, so this one's a really cool, this is one of my favorite slide here. So somebody got real mad at us on Facebook.
Right.
The paint of the prototype number 5 monster, which appeared in the movies, was not an authorized one. It was a one-time use while starring in the movie Braves of Tomorrow. The story is a company of unifications forces who time travel to the past to repel the Martians who came to invade Earth. It was the uplifting fighting spirit B movie. The Spartan behind was made a Martian invasion weapon. Mm-hmm. So basically, this is a screenshot from a film during the show. That's why it's camouflage, and somebody got upset. It's like, why is there time travel in Macross? And we're trying to explain to them, no, it's a movie. Right. This is a movie called Braves of Tomorrow. This is a scene from it, and it's about time travel and Martians, and the monster plays a Martian in the movie. So that's what it is. All right, go ahead, Slide.
There is time travel in Macross, though.
Not in my Macross. Okay, so this can get real long, and I'm going to kind of just cut it short. I'm just only going to read 2 or 3 paragraphs from it, because most of it's really about the Army wants to have their own Batroid-style robot that's not a Destroid, or the Air Force, not the Army, the Air Force. And our Air Force, Navy, and Marines want it, whereas opposed to the Army just wants all Destroids. So that's really the heart of what this is about. It's just done in long, but I'm going to read a few paragraphs so you get a good idea of the feel of what this 2-page article is about. So, the Batroid development was sparked by a massive spacefall incident in 1999. The ship was named the SDF Macross, and the main maintenance of its core system was the MSS was started. While the Joint Army put to practical use of the super technology, Macross over technology, OT, obtained from the Macross, a big problem occurred inside the joint forces.
That's something that became different, actually.
Really? Oh,
yeah, because like here it says Macross over technology, MOT. Later books, it's over technology of Macross, or OTM.
Oh, okay. Wow, cool. The Army, which emphasized firepower and destructive power, wanted to equip the new weapon with only the same military-led Destroid walking system. They appealed to the headquarters of the United Army. Fortunately for the Air Force, Navy, and Marine Corps, which were unofficially expected to deploy a large number of Destroids, a leading fighter manufacturer, Stonewall, immediately formed a 3-armed joint project team with chief designer Dr. H. Takihoff of Stonewall. The variable VF fighter hammered out the concept.
That name, by the way, Dr. H. Takihoff, comes from Haruka Takachiko, I think, who's was the founder of Studio Nue, actually.
Oh, all right, that's cool. Production of the first Marine started in January 2006. The completed task of the Joint Force was only 36 months, including test flights. At the time, there was a race against time, working day and night. After some struggle, the prototype number 1 rolled out November 23, 2008. It was given the model name VF-1A.
Which all, of course, is kind of not completely invalidated, but Macross 0 kind of fuzzes a lot of this stuff out.
Okay. One more paragraph. During an episode of the test, BES operation test has made a lot of noise. The Batroid form of the VF-1 operation test for the seclusion of the equipment was conducted secretly in a remote location from midnight to early morning. A civilian who happens upon the Batroid in panic reported to the military, police, and relevant authorities. So, all right, go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, so this is the second page of it right here. Okay, yeah. So anyway, these are the 3 pictures. These are kind of 3 famous pictures from this book a lot of people are familiar with. So I'm going to read I just want to read the descriptions of the 3 photos because I think they're more important than the whole article. Examining the arm that has fallen at an accident. A local civilian...
That's the previous... Was that the previous?
No, it's right there.
Okay.
You can really, yeah. Local civilians were puzzled. The authorities announced special parts of a machine tool that was being transported. So they basically, when they found this arm in the desert, they said, oh, it's part of a machine that was being built. That's all really what it is.
So yeah, I mean, when they were doing the test flights, one of the arms just fell off while it was flying.
All right, and then the second one, or the bottom one, you can barely see it unfortunately, is a graduation exam of the Batroid control exercise. From a case of raw eggs placed on a table, if you can pick up the egg without it being crushed, you passed.
So yeah, the Batroid has to pick up an egg without crushing it, and you may remember this scene actually got homaged in Macross Frontier when Cheryl is in the X-Gear power armor. She keeps trying to pick up, as a test, keeps trying to pick up eggs and keeps crushing them.
So, and then the middle one is that they were testing them at night, and there was a couple who saw Batroid walking around, and they thought it was an apparition, they thought it was a ghost. So.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, go to the next one, thank you. All right, so this is the Batroid portion right here. The VF-1 is out-of-atmosphere combat machine planned and designed from the beginning as the core of the air power of the Macross strategic system, which is the MSS. Due to military requirement, it is a high-performance aircraft and can be transformed into a humanoid in anticipation of melee combat with giant aliens. Another major feature is that the intermediate form that can be used for high mobile landwear. The VF-1 for melee combat is weaker in armor than a Destroid, lower reliability of parts due to complicated airframe structure. The Air Force pilot had problems such as having to fight in unfamiliar, dangerous land combat. However, the high output of the 2 thermonuclear reaction engines and this attack power that freely makes full use of the 3 types, depending on the situation, are unmatched by any other model. In addition, since it was originally an aircraft, it was judged that its effective as a weapon was great because it was possible to place and attach various armaments. So that's about it. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. So this is just a quick thing that they talk about the 3 different models. So the the VF-1J, there's 50 of them on the Prometheus. And then the VF-1A, standard mass-produced Valkyrie equipped with 20mm laser machine gun. It had 120 aircraft at the time of the Earth launch. The VF-1S communication facilities have been strengthened in this type for squadron heavy use in the heavy duty type. There are 4 laser machine guns. Aircraft equipped was 30. And then the last one is the double seat, mainly used for training. Space action ability is slightly limited. 12 aircraft installed on carrier.
Is it just me, or do these numbers seem way too low? Like 120 VF-1As, I think we see twice that get blown up in the show, right?
They just keep pushing them out.
Right, okay.
Stonewall just keep pushing them out. So, all right, go ahead and go to the next one. And this is a spread photo right here. And the VF-1 Valkyrie under final assembly at the Stonewall factory in the suburbs of Los Cupid, California, an autonomous region on the west coast of North America. So, if you ever wonder where the Valkyries were made, they were made at Los Cupid, California. So, so anyway, go ahead, slide. That was a great revelation. When I was
Right.
Lost Cupid. Okay, so let's see, armored. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so this is, of course, the Armored Valkyrie, which I think everybody loves this one, right? Even though it's like only in one episode, you know. So weapons bay on both shoulders, depending on the situation. One can also equip 8 large bullets in each. The auxiliary booster is to be worn on the back. A hand grenade is attached next to the waist protector. The VF-1 Batroid as a land combat weapon had 2 drawbacks: the weakness of the armor and a higher power output than necessary. To cover these 2 points, the GPB-1S armor is an optional part for the armor that was planned from the beginning of the development of the VF-1 system. The weight of the VF-1 when wearing the GPB almost doubles, but with the auxiliary booster on its back, a large jump can be made. Also, when the GPB is attached, it was not possible to take a body shape or transform other than the Batroid, but it was very easy to expel the GPB, and in an emergency it was possible to throw it away and escape, which of course is what we see in the episode.
Yeah, and that was one revelation too, is like those 3 round things on its waist, they're actually hand grenades, so according to this book. So I thought that was a cool reveal, so. All right, go ahead, slide there. All right, you go ahead and read this.
Okay, good old Gerwalk. In late February 2009, Stonewall's chief pilot, Mr. K. Watanabe, suddenly opened his arms during the battle test with the VF-1A Unit 2, and the arms got stuck. It was found that if the thrust was adjusted and the balance assist done correctly, it was possible to hover over the ground surface at a high speed, hovering near 500 kilometers per hour with a semi-Batroid shape, and he was able to return to the base. At the beginning of the development, the Gerwalk form was considered only for forced vertical takeoff and landing for war wounded. On land, it was discovered it had the ability to move at high speed. Therefore, as a result of comparative study with the Batroid morphology, it was found that the Gerwalk is stable and faster than the Batroid when moving at high speed on land. And of course,
you have to read this.
Yeah, right. This is so stupid. GERWALK, of course, is an acronym for Ground Effective Reinforcement of Winged Armament with Locomotion Knee Joint.
Now you know.
Right. Which is weird because they also use it in Orgus, and most of the GERWALKs there don't actually have wings. Right. So.
All right, go ahead. All right, so we're going to get into the variations here.
And the variations, I think, are the real reason that the book was made. You know, they're trying to sell model kits, and by this time, like, Gundam kits were popular, and people were customizing them. So the real reason for this book is to show off various customizations that you can make and provide kind of a launch pad for your imagination to make your own, like, customs.
Type Batroid Gabriel.
Right.
Batroid variations, high maneuver type Batroid Gabriel. The nickname of the Gabriel comes from the fact that the appearance of the Batroid with its wing spread, especially the S-type, made it look like a big angel. The AFMS, automatic tracking high mobility missile for outside the atmosphere, is attached to the main wing, a drop fuel tank attached to the booster on the back, and a booster with a vernier attached to both feet and legs. The VF-1 is an excellent fighter, but in space combat it became a problem with the effective timing of the thrusters and vernier for direction control. Thrusters and vernier could not quickly turn around without the depletion of fuel. It became impossible to fight. Therefore, the GBP-1S weapon system of the Armored Valkyrie, which was loaded on the Prometheus jurisdiction, decided to use the vernier moon auxiliary booster for high mobility engine. Is a type that has been used quite a lot because it does not require modification of the aircraft. So as we read this, a lot of these, like this one, like the Gabriel, they're just like, according to the book, they're just reproductions before they get to the Super. They're playing around with stuff. A lot of this was kind of pieced together when I read the next one, you'll see that, but they're just kind of playing with what would eventually become the Super Valkyrie. So, all right, go ahead and go to the next slide here. Okay, armored Batloid Dragon Kung Fu. Go ahead.
Okay. Due to the high loss rate of land-based Destroids and Spartans, the Valkyrie land-based warfare type was designed to compensate for and eliminate this. There were many oppositions to the use of the Valkyrie as a Destroid, but the test results were excellent, and in some situations it outperformed the Spartan. However, due to the lack of training period for pilots and the losses in the number of essential Valkyrie aircraft during battles, the formalization was postponed. The nickname Dragon Kung Fu is named after the action movie Xiao Pai Lon, which of course Little White Dragon, which was a big hit at the time, assuming a ground fighting battle. So yes, it's named after that Min-Mei movie.
All right, next one. Next slide. All right, and this is the space equipment type deep diver. One of the proposed methods of extending the Valkyrie space action time, increasing mobility, unlike Gabriel, which was rather makeshift, is equipped with the newly designed optional parts. While Gabriel and Super Valkyrie, only time Super Valkyrie is mentioned in this book is right here. The Gabriel and Super Valkyrie are based on the fundamentals of the fighting form. Deep diver is based on the movement in the form of the Batloid. Only mentions of the Super Valkyrie in the book. All right, go ahead. So, and also, actually, go back. I'm sorry. Yeah, that one actually in the book says Hikaru actually was the test pilot for this. So that's why it's in the Spartans. All right, go ahead. Next one.
Okay.
That's my favorite one.
Yes, and this is the only one that actually shows up in the show, like mostly. Like I think the arms are different, or it's only in fighter mode or something. The VEFR-1 Funny Chinese. It can be used for both reconnaissance missions during various detection devices and ECM jamming and ECCM bandwave jamming missions using electric devices. It can also be used for close support for unmanned aerial vehicles, the Ghosts. In addition, it can also be used for proximity support of unmanned Ghost fighters. It's a double-seat machine.
So essentially it's a control vehicle for the Ghosts.
Right.
That was, again, that's kind of a cool reveal that I didn't realize that this is what controls the Ghosts that you see at the beginning of Macross. We see them taking off in the first few episodes. So.
Right, but it only shows up in the show, like I think during the big battle against the Zentradi in episode 27.
Yeah.
And then of course there's another one that's very similar to this that shows up for 5 seconds in Do You Remember Love?
And go ahead. Let's go ahead and discuss this one. All right, so we're...
So now we're done with the Valkyries, and the rest of it is about, most of the rest of it is about the Macross itself.
All right, and this one is, as you can see, it's not the Super Dimension Fortress Macross, it's a Super Dreadnought Fortress. And it's, as Richard was saying, that earlier on, that's what it was called. It was actually referred to as a Dreadnought. So this still uses that original designation for the SDF-1.
Yeah, before the production of the series, the title was going to be Super Dreadnought Fortress Macross, and then they changed it to Super Dimension Fortress Macross soon before, like, they finished animating the first episode.
All right, so since the Macross is an unfinished ship and not have been outfitted for armament except for the Buster Cannon, they refer to the big cannon thing as a Buster Cannon.
Yeah, the main gun is the Buster Cannon.
Yeah. The ornaments and turrets that can be seen on the surface are almost like paper mache. That's the literal translation. So all those big guns that you see, they're actually empty. They were never fitted. The outside of the gun was fitted, but not the actual barrels and everything.
Which is why you did never see those shoulder cannons shoot in the show.
Yeah, so that's why, because the ship was just taken off, it never was outfitted with all those extra weapons. So the SDF-1 was repaired in a hurry in anticipation of the upcoming clash of the army of giants. Still had a great deal of unknown parts for mankind and experienced many unexpected troubles. Because it was only used by races that are 5 times taller than humans, there is a huge amount of space inside the ship. Using the ship structure by adopting a modular configuration of a unit block is considered to increase the overall survival weight. In addition, in particular, huge space left within the ship's body, civilians who were involved in a later accident had to board the SDF-1 and were able to make several cities.
Several cities, yeah, which they don't say it here, but according to the book My Fair Min-Mei, if you were wondering where the city is inside the ship, it's in 3 parts. There's the center, and then both legs. And then there's like a subway system that connects all of them. So the Minmay's aunt and uncle's restaurant is in one of the legs, but the auditorium where they have the Miss Macross contest is in the center. And if you're wondering how big it is, because that seems to be one thing that people always argue about, that's one stat that has never changed in any book or anything about Macross. It is always 1,200 meters, which is,
that's what it says here.
Seems too small to fit everything inside, but that's always what it says.
And the crew was 20,000, and the civilian population was 56,000. So, all right, we're on the last slide here. Go ahead and click it here. Okay, then you go ahead.
Okay. It takes 15 minutes to transform the Macross from the Fortress ship to Force type, which I think usually they translate as storm attack or construction, although in Japanese it's just attack mode. During this time, the inside of the ship turns to utter confusion. The left-hand aircraft carrier is the Prometheus. Each ship has a variable stern connection for adjustments, which serves as an ejecting angle arm for ship-based aircraft. The right hand is the amphibious assault ship Daedalus. With the tactics of Lieutenant Hayase in the command room, it thrusts into the enemy ship.